So let's go over this problem right here. Um, Billy walks 1/3 of a mile in 1/4 of an hour. His cousin James walks 2/5 of a mile in 12 minutes. If they continue at their same pace, who would walk a mile faster? And you're asked to show work. So, first and foremost, let's just highlight certain things that are important and relevant to what we need to do. This is the question, okay? So if they continue at their same pace, who would walk a mile faster? So a couple of things that are important here, um, that they continue at the same pace. So that means that every time that Billy walks 1/3 of a mile, a quarter of an hour passes, right? So um, it's almost like if you look at the clock over there on the right, okay, so this here, once he walks a quarter of the clock, inside there, what you have is 1/3 of a mile. Okay, so each one is going to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, right? I know that those are fourths, but every fourth of an hour represents 1/3 of a mile. That's why I wrote 1/3 in there. So that's how this is happening. That's what same pace here means, which is why it's so important. Now, the other thing is that the question is, who would walk a mile faster? So in particular, we want to make sure that we know who would walk a mile faster. So a mile being 1 mile. So we're going to set it up and we're going to work with each person's information. So Billy walks 1/3 of a mile in 1/4 of an hour, right? So we're going to set up Billy and we're going to have miles up here in our ratio, and we're going to have hours here in our ratio. Okay, so here's 1/3 and here is 1/4. Okay, so as we said, we want to have 1 mile, so that comes from there. Okay, we want to have 1 mile, and the mile is at the top of the ratio, so that's where it goes. Okay, so the question is, how do I get from 1/3 to 1? Right? How do I get from 1/3 to 1? What happens to this ratio for me to get 1/3 to 1? Okay, so I have to divide this by 1/3. You might be asking yourself why. So if I have 5, what number do I divide by to get 1? If I have 17, what number do I divide by to get 1? Sorry, that should just be a 1. So if I have 1/2, what number would I divide by to get 1? So in each one of these scenarios, you just divide by the same number. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 17 divided by 17 is 1. 1/2 divided by 1/2 is also 1. So here, 1/3 divided by 1/3 gives you 1. So what does that tell us? That tells us that we're going to do 1/4 and we're going to divide that by 1/3. When you type this in a calculator, you get 3/4. So that's 3/4 of an hour. Okay, so 3/4 of an hour is 45 minutes. So it takes Billy 45 minutes to walk 1 mile. Okay, so now we're going to work with James. James walks 2/5 of a mile in 12 minutes. So let's write James over here. And same thing, we're going to have miles and hours as our ratio. Okay, and we're specifically given 2/5 mile and 12 minutes. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna cross out hours and I'm gonna rewrite that as minutes because I do not have hours and I'm working in minutes. And for the other problem, I also had minutes over here. So we're gonna keep it as minutes. So once again, I want to have 1 mile, so I'm going to end up there. And as I said before, what do I do to this ratio in order to get 2/5 to 1? Well, I have to multiply each, or I'm sorry, divide each number by 2/5. So 2/5 divided by 2/5 is 1. So similarly, in order to get this answer over here, I have to take 12 and divide that by 2/5. Okay, so when you do that, you end up with 30 minutes. 30 minutes. So when you type in 12 divided by 2/5 in the calculator, you're going to get 30 as your response, which represents 30 minutes because that's what was here, right? So 30 minutes is how long it takes James to walk 1 mile. So because it takes James 30 minutes to walk 1 mile, Billy is way slower. He's 15 minutes slower than James. In this case, James is the faster person, and it's based on the calculations that I have here, and I'm showing that 30 minutes would be faster than 45 minutes.